everyone, my name is Lori and I'd like to welcome you back to BabyNet, Navigating Experiences Together. I hope you've had a great week and I'm excited to once again be connecting with you this week. And I hope you had a chance to try out our weekly challenge last week, which was to try an activity page from the Comfort, Play, and Teach resource. So in today's segment, I'm going to be discussing baby's temperament, how you will have different temperament traits, and what to do if some of your temperament traits differ from your child's. And I'll also introduce the topic of different parenting styles and discuss some related concepts to parenting styles. I'll finish off with our question of the week and our weekly challenge. All right, let's get started with today's quote of the week, which is, "There is nothing in a caterpillar that tells you that it's going to be a butterfly." And this quote is from someone named Buckminster Fuller, and he was an American architect, an inventor, and an author. So at first glance, this quote may not seem related to parenting, but I chose it because I think it nicely captures the essence of today's topic with temperament traits. You may be observing your baby's temperament traits emerging now, and this is really exciting and really fun. And it's also fun to watch your child grow and to see how these traits contribute to becoming their unique self. Enjoy this part of parenting, and I hope today's segment will be useful for you as you learn about your child's personality and how you can support this aspect of their development. So what is temperament? Temperament is an important feature of our social and emotional health. The word temperament refers to the way that we approach the world and the way that we react to the world. We all have our own personal style, and this is present from our birth. There are three general types of temperament. There's easygoing, slow to warm, and active. So easygoing children are generally happy and active from birth, and they adjust easily to new situations and new environments. Slow to warm children are generally observant and calm, and they may need a little bit of extra time to adjust to new situations and environments. Children with active temperaments often have varied routines in terms of their eating and their sleeping patterns, and they approach life with zest and energy. And there are 9 common traits that can help describe temperament. So these 9 common traits are activity level, distractibility, intensity, regularity, sensitivity, approachability, adaptability, persistence, and mood. So why is it important to understand a bit about our child's temperamental traits? Well, there's something called goodness of fit. So obviously, parents and caregivers will have their own individual temperaments. The compatibility between adult and child temperaments can affect the quality of the relationship that you will have with your child. So this compatibility is often called goodness of fit. So goodness of fit happens when an adult's expectations and methods of caregiving match their child's personal style and abilities. Goodness of fit does not mean that adult and child temperaments have to match, though. The parent and caregiver does not have to change who they are just to match their child's temperaments. They can simply adjust their caregiving methods and their parenting styles to be a supportive, positive support to their child's natural way of responding to the world around them. So, for example, if a child is highly active and you know that you're going to be going somewhere where you have to be standing in a line, perhaps you're going to the bank, it's really important that you would pack extra activities into your diaper bag to give your child something to do while they're waiting with you. So to give an example now, I'll just go through a couple of those personality traits, or 9 common temperament traits. I'll give an example of a few of them. So the first one would be intensity. So this refers to the energy level of one's emotional response, both positive and negative. So for example, if you or your child has high intensity, that means you have a strong and intense positive and negative reactions to things around you. If you have low intensity, that means you may have more muted emotional reactions. In terms of sensitivity, what is that one? Well, sensitivity describes how sensitive you can be to physical stimuli, such as light, sound, and textures, whether that be clothing textures or even food textures. So if an individual is high in sensitivity, that means that they are very sensitive to physical stimuli, including sounds, tastes, touch, and temperature changes. You may find that your child is a picky eater, or they have trouble sleeping in a strange bed if you're somewhere else, if you're on vacation, for example. If you have low sensitivity, this means that you're not very sensitive to physical stimuli, including, again, sounds, taste, touch, and temperature. You can fall asleep anywhere, and you can try new foods quite easily. And then the last one that I'm going to just go through with you is called approachability. So approachability is one's initial response to new places, to new situations, to new things, new environments that you may be experiencing. So if an individual is high in approachability, that means they eagerly approach new situations. They embrace these things. They embrace meeting new people quite easily. If you are low on the approachability scale, that means you would be quite hesitant. You may be a little bit more resistant to new situations and new people and new places or things. So it might just take you a little bit more time to warm up when you're in different or new environments. So now that we've talked about the different temperamental traits, I'd like to relate that to different parenting styles and how those connect together. So when we talk about different parenting styles, there's three main styles that we generally speak about. The first one is authoritarian parenting style. So in this parenting style, children are more expected to follow strict rules that are established by parents, and failure to follow these rules can often result in punishment. There's often no necessary rationale or reasoning behind these rules, so if children ask why these rules are in place, a parent would often just say, because I said so. Parents often have high demands, and they're not necessarily responsive to their children. They expect their orders to be obeyed without explanation. So on the other end of this spectrum, we would have the permissive parenting style. Permissive parents are sometimes referred to as being quite indulgent. They have very few demands on their children, and they rarely discipline their children. They have low expectations of maturity and self-control, and they are often more responsive than they are demanding. They are often very non-traditional, perhaps quite lenient parents, and they like to avoid confrontation. So in this case, they like to maintain the status of more of a friend rather than a parent. So somewhere in the middle of these two styles is something that we refer to as authoritative parenting. So like authoritarian parents, authoritative parenting style does establish rules and guidelines that they expect their children to follow. However, this parenting style is much more democratic. When children fail to meet these expectations, parents are more nurturing, more understanding, and they're more forgiving rather than punishing. They like to use what we call a positive parenting style or a positive discipline style rather than that harsh punishment. They're more assertive, but they're not intrusive, and their disciplinary methods are supportive rather than punitive. They expect their children to grow to be socially responsible and self-regulated as well as cooperative. What I'd like to talk about now is how these parenting styles are on more of a continuum. So while I've outlined these parenting styles as different categories, I'd like to reiterate that they are definitely more on a continuum, and from any day we may see our parenting style being somewhat of a blend between these different parenting styles. So parents will find themselves somewhere in the middle rather than at these extreme opposite ends. So most parents will have, though, a dominant style of parenting. However, these different styles can change or in response to different circumstances and different relationship dynamics. So typically, if a mom could be perhaps more authoritative, if she's having a bad day, maybe the mom is feeling ill, or maybe her child is sick, or she's really, really tired, she may find that her style might become a little bit more permissive on that day. Or conversely, we might have a dad who might have more of a permissive style. However, he may switch to more authoritarian methods if his child or he is upset or his child is under unusual stress. So while it's not possible to be consistent in our parenting style all the time, it's important that we try as much as possible to be consistent for our kids so that they know what to expect from us and then therefore what to expect from themselves. So there's also other things that can affect our parenting style. What are some of those things? So for example, we could have cultural factors that could affect our parenting style. We could have other social influences. In particular, what is the family of origin that we came from? What is the parenting style within the family where we grew up? And quite often that will be a really big factor in how we ourselves parent. What is our child's temperament? So we just spoke about temperament. So oftentimes we can have a match or a mismatch between ourselves and our child's temperament, and it's just a matter of trying to work within those temperaments. So I like to say too, we can have children that can be from different home environments, completely different, and the children can wind up with very similar personalities. Conversely, children who share the same home and have the same family environment, the same parenting style, can often result in very different kids. So we know that there can be definitely a different match between children's temperaments and parents' temperaments. Often too, our child's perceptions of their parental treatment, and also, like I said, a parent and child personalities and their temperament blend can have an effect on our parenting style as well. So I'd just like to outline again what would be some advantages to trying to maintain as much as possible more of that authoritative parenting style that we spoke of. Because the authoritative parenting style, again, can result in very happy children. Our children are quite capable. They can be very successful as they go throughout their life. So in this parenting style, within the authoritative parenting style, the needs of parents and children are very well respected. It goes both ways. They're trusted and respected. Children have a healthy self-esteem, which is really important. They feel loved, they feel capable. They grow in independence and competence, and they can learn to take a lot of initiative. It allows them to develop their creativity. They are respectful of the needs of others, and they learn to interact well with others. And they can become, again, like I said, they learn to take that initiative. They can be very internally motivated, and they feel comfortable with making decisions. So there are a lot of benefits to, as much as possible, trying to work within that authoritative parenting style. So now that we've discussed why there's benefits to the authoritative parenting style, I'd just like to go through a couple more concepts with you related to parenting style. So one is that exploring our parenting style is really one way for parents to help clarify the vision that they have for parenting. However, sometimes when parents do explore their parenting style, it can often lead to a sense of guilt or maybe remorse about mistakes that they've made in the past. And I just want to reassure you not to worry, not to be too hard on yourselves, and not to forget that we're all human and we all make mistakes, and our children are very resilient. And it's important to recognize and learn from these mistakes. It doesn't hurt to reflect on some of our parenting mistakes and to think about what we could do if this situation arises the next time. So parenting really is a lifelong journey. Parents can't be expected to have all of the answers right off the bat. They learn and grow as their child learns and grows. And children, again, are amazingly resilient and forgiving. So when parents try their best and admit to mistakes that they have made, this is actually a really great way of modeling to our children what it is to be human. So this is an important concept, and it's kind of the concept of equilibrium and disequilibrium. So children cycle through periods of equilibrium and disequilibrium as they grow and develop. And in a similar way, parents may typically cycle through smooth sailing times and also challenging times as their children grow. And often these times of periods of equilibrium are times when parents feel most confident and most satisfied with their parenting. Things are going well. But at other times, they may have periods of disequilibrium. So this could be when they're feeling quite confused and quite inadequate. And this can often coincide with times when our children are going through big changes in their development as well. And this is often because parents can feel out of balance, perhaps, when their child becomes a toddler. So their easygoing infant changes into a child while they're searching possibly for more independence and more control. So all of those parenting techniques that we were relying on perhaps when they were babies, or suddenly we're having to change those a little bit as our child grows and develops. So they may feel a little bit frustrated, parents do, when the strategies that they have been using in the past aren't necessarily working now. So although this can be discouraging and overwhelming, these periods of disequilibrium are actually very natural, and they're a healthy part of a growing relationship. Through disequilibrium, parents have those times to gain insights into themselves and their children, and they actually can have a greater capacity to empathize with their children who are also experiencing those periods of disequilibrium. So parents might find it necessary to revisit their vision of parenting at these times and to develop new parenting strategies. So look at it as a time of challenge and a time of growth. So although it's uncomfortable, ultimately the experience does help them grow as a parent and as a person. And it's exciting because we're growing and changing along with our children as they grow and change. So the last concept that I would like to leave you with in this parenting style section is, again, just talking about parent self-care. And I know that I have talked about this topic before in BabyNet. So within that responsibility, so we've just talked about a lot. Responsibility of raising a child, it's easy for parents, again, to neglect their own well-being. So initially it might seem logical that a dependent child's needs should come before our own, but in reality it's really important that we are looking after ourselves, because we can't do a good job of parenting for our child's needs and caring for our child if our own needs are being neglected. So some potential consequences that might result from poor parental self-care would be you might be experiencing fatigue, you might be experiencing a lack of patience, irritability, or being quick-tempered. You'll have low energy and perhaps poor stamina, and we all know that parenting requires stamina. You might find that you have more illness, maybe more long-lasting illness. You might have more poor coping skills, and you might actually result in some depression. So it's really, really important that we not overlook our own well-being. And it involves, I'd like to leave you with this last thought, so that parent self-care involves more than just the obvious physical elements of making sure we're eating well, getting enough sleep, getting regular exercise. Wellness really is a lifelong journey towards healthy well-being in all of life's dimensions. So whether that is the physical, the social, emotional, your intellectual, perhaps your occupational well-health, and also your spiritual well-health. And again, if you have any questions about any of these things, our contact information will be available at the end of this video, and we'd love to talk to you more about that as well. So I'd like to turn our attention now to the question of the week. And our question is, my baby and I have different temperaments. What should I do? And that's great. That's actually a great thing. That's a fun thing to have different temperaments. It keeps things interesting. There's no way, as we outlined, as again, lots of different temperamental traits, there is no way that you would likely match with your child in every single temperamental trait. So it's important that we just understand and adapt our parenting styles to meet the needs of our child. So I'll go through a couple of different examples with you in case you do have a bit of a mismatch with the different temperament traits that your child has. So for example, sensitivity. So just to review, sensitivity describes how sensitive one can be to physical stimuli. So whether that's light, sound, textures, clothing textures, food textures, that sort of thing. So I'll use the example of if perhaps you are a match in this situation. You are highly sensitive and your child is highly sensitive. What are some things that you can do if you share that similar level of sensitivity? So for example, you might enjoy some quiet, cozy moments throughout your day together, like nap or like bedtime. Use these as different times that you can connect and soothe your child. Use these times to talk softly about your day or to sing songs in a soothing tone. Again, I know I've told you this before, but your child loves the sound of your voice. They'll find it very soothing. When you go into a new environment, again, we're talking maybe post-COVID, but when you go into different environments that perhaps might be a bit loud or a bit bright, it might be a good idea to help your child adjust by finding a quiet space that you can get settled and start to enjoy the environment together. So for example, you might want to be coming one day to one of our groups. If you walk into the room and it's loud and bright and there's lots of things going on and you find your child might be perhaps be getting a little bit oversensitized, maybe just start off the program by finding a quiet corner that your child can start to slowly adjust to the new environment. Maybe provide soft clothing and soft textures for your child, so you'll start to learn a little bit more. If you know that your child is highly sensitive, what would be some soft textures that they do enjoy in terms of their clothing and their food. And another one would be to use warm and supportive tones when you're talking to your child as they work through their different emotions. So again, those emotions are going to be coming out throughout the day. So if you're able to talk to them in an encouraging and positive manner about those emotions, that's helpful as well. So on the other side of this coin though, what would we do, for example, if you find that you're less sensitive and your child is highly sensitive? So you have maybe a little bit of a difference in your area of sensitivity. So here are some ideas that you can use to support that fit between your low intensity or your low sensitivity and your child's higher sensitivity. So for example, maybe you need to turn off the television or the radio or some music that you have playing. Maybe place some soap suds on the bathtub or a water table next to a sensory area that they might be exploring in a safe place where your child can maybe wash their hands immediately. So giving them those opportunities to try touching and exploring different sensory objects, but if they like to wash their hands after really quickly, that's okay too. So just having a towel and some soap and water at the ready, that's a good idea. And then also just responding gently and as soon as possible when your child does communicate their discomfort. So just being really sensitive to addressing any sensitivity needs that they may have. So the next one that I'd like to talk about with you would be approachability, because this could be another common one that parents talk about, their children having maybe difficulty approaching new situations. So again, approachability is one's initial response to new places, situations, or things that they may be doing. So I'll use the example here of what to do if you find that you're highly approachable, you don't have any problems walking into a new situation or new environment. You find that quite easy to do, but perhaps your child or your infant is less approachable. So if you have a different fit in this regard, perhaps when introducing your child to a new person, talk about this with a positive facial expression as much as possible to give this new person to the new person before introducing the person to your child. Give your child some time to ease into that situation. And again, allowing your child extra time to be close to you when you are in a new environment. So for example, if you see that they are starting to look around and they're a bit interested in what's going on, perhaps a little bit tentatively, that's okay. So you can slowly kind of move from maybe holding them to putting them on your lap to putting your baby on the floor so that they can start to slowly explore that new environment. Another thing that you can do is describe the actions that you're doing and what you will be doing in a new situation. So for example, if you're going over to grandma's house, you can talk about that. We're going to grandma's house today, we're going to eat lunch, then maybe you'll have a little bit of a nap there and then we'll go home. So just talking them through what they're going to be doing so that they can plan for that. Even though they may not fully understand at a young age, it does help them, alert them, and orientate them to a new situation. And just to remember too that babies do typically have stranger anxiety around the 8-month mark and again around the 18-month mark. So that is typical times in their development that they would have a little bit more difficulty perhaps approaching new people and new strangers. So those are hopefully some ideas for you. And we've got lots more again for you if you'd like to contact us as well. We have lots more of ideas for you around this topic. So I'd like to leave you now with our challenge of the week. And our challenge is to reflect on all of the good aspects of you, and perhaps if you have a partner that you're parenting with, your partner's personality and your baby's temperament. Write them all down. Maybe you want to talk about them, reflect about them, and then focus on these positive qualities as you interact with your loved ones in the next week. So that's all that I have for you this week. I hope that you did find this to be an interesting topic this week. I know there's lots of information that came this week. And just to remind you to continue to check out our YouTube channel as we do have new content that's going up continually on our website. And then again, if you have any concerns, any questions, or need additional support, our contact information will be up at the end of this video. So thank you so much for tuning in to BabyNet this week, and I look forward to connecting with you once again very soon. Thank you and have a great week. Bye now.